better lighting. All right, welcome to the City Nature Challenge wrap-up. How are you doing today, Corey?
Doing great, Mark. I'm excited to give some results to people and kind of let them know how we did for this challenge.
Absolutely. So Corey and I were talking before we logged on about how this year didn't end up exactly how we intended, like so many things this spring. But we feel like for the stay-at-home edition City Nature Challenge, this was a pretty good start for Chattanooga for the first time that Chattanooga has been involved. So we have some good results that we want to show. If you guys want to drop us a note here, if you're logged into Facebook or YouTube, you can make a comment. Let us know where you're dialing in from. Say hello, and if you have any questions along the way, do the same thing. Just comment, and we will, if we see them before we get to the end of our time together, we'll go ahead and answer them. And if not, we'll answer them in the comments later. We'll get started here in just a second. Let us know, again, where you're from. Say hello. And we will announce some results here in just a second. All right, so I want to start with a little bit about us. I'll go really quick here, but we have a native plant nursery at Reflection Riding Arboretum Nature Center that would normally have been through its 33rd annual spring plant sale last weekend, but we have gone online and we have plants available for sale and that we will either deliver to you or allow you to pick up once a week. So check us out, reflectionriding.org/plants. It's also right on the homepage when you get there. And then if you stay in touch, get on our newsletter. We'll talk more about the habitat restoration efforts, the wildlife conservation, our participation in the Red Wolf SSP, and then, of course, all the nature-based education that we do, including summer camps, which we're working on trying to figure out how to open right now. Little PSA about native plants. This is a prothonotary warbler, one of my favorite birds to see. It comes back to the Chattanooga region to nest here, and then it goes to Corey. It goes to South America in the wintertime, right?
That's correct.
So this is one of those really cool birds that you only see in the summertime. But the reason why they come up here is because they have so much food to eat in the summer. We have so many insects, but for them to have insects, you have to plant plants that they can eat. This is an eastern phoebe eating some kind of beetle in the wetland here at Reflection Riding. So make sure you give the birds something to eat. Buy some plants from us. Here's another one of that warbler. I just love these guys. They're very loud too. Once you learn what their call sounds like, you'll hear it. Quickly, the City Nature Challenge took place from April 24th to the 27th, and then we moved into an ID phase where we went in to see what people found and tried to get as many observations as possible up to a research grade where it'll be useful for science. If you have anything that you observe that you haven't uploaded yet, go ahead and upload it. It won't count for the challenge anymore, but it will still filter up to this project, and it's always useful information. The City Nature Challenge is organized on a global level by the California Academy of Sciences and the Natural History Museum of Los Angeles County. Actually kind of started as a little friendly rivalry between LA and San Francisco. And then it's organized locally by myself and Corey. I'm the president at Reflection Riding Arboretum Nature Center, and Corey is our director of education. And I think it's worth pausing real quick, Corey, to talk about some of the things that we had planned that we hope to be able to do again next year. I know, Corey, you were working with educators all over several counties.
Well, yeah, we were working with Hamilton County Department of Education to get the students involved. We were also working with the Department of Youth and Family Development to try to get the kids outside and observing the natural world around them. those are the big groups that I was really trying to hit. Is it's easy for those of us that have a good enough income to have a nice iPhone or something like that to get out and take observations. It's another thing for people who are in underserved communities to be able to connect to nature. So that's going to be one of our focuses for next year's City Nature Challenge, is finding ways to engage the people who don't have the means to do it easily.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that I think is really fascinating about this challenge, and part of where the challenge came from, is that there's actually kind of a gap in our knowledge of what's going on with biodiversity in cities. And we're becoming increasingly urbanized worldwide. But if you think about a scientist, and I would do the same thing, if you're going to research something, a lot of scientists want to go to the middle of the jungle of South America to research something, as opposed to downtown Detroit or wherever, even Chattanooga being the same way. And I think, and so this data that we're producing collectively is actually super valuable for the study of biodiversity, and to see how things are, how nature reacts to all of the human habitation and the different ways that we use our land here in the city. So I'm going to share my screen, and we will actually just jump into the results here in a second. I'm going to start actually with the collective results. So this is what, here in just a second. Oh, that didn't work. Hold on. Actually have to share that particular tab here real quick. So this is available at citynaturechallenge.org, but these are the newly collected results for 2020. 821,000 observations of 135,000 species, and 41,600 and change people observing. So really cool global effort that you all were a part of if you uploaded observations to the Chattanooga version of the City Nature Challenge. Pretty soon.
Something really interesting to me is the total number of observations. We did have a few more cities participating, but with the COVID-19 protocols in most of these cities, I think it's amazing that last year they were just shy of 1 million observations. The fact that we had over 820,000 people observations, I think is pretty amazing.
It really is, and of course we encourage people all along the way to follow whatever their local guidelines were, and of course everybody was in a different situation worldwide. We had some of our group at the worldwide level just said pretty early on into the COVID thing, they said, we just can't do this. We're not going to encourage people to go outside at all. And I think a couple of our organizers in Italy dropped out early on. But we decided as a global group to push forward and to just encourage people to observe whatever they could. If it was literally you're stuck on your porch and you're looking for birds flying over, or if you have a backyard that you can go really get out into, or a local park that was still open, we encourage people to just do it safely and go ahead and observe. And yeah, so I agree with you, Corey. I think it's pretty crazy that we still almost hit 1 million observations. And I'm actually going to go play this. This is a cool video that talks about the challenge. I'm going to play this real quick. It's only a few minutes, but it'll show you, kind of puts the global challenge in perspective, and it also shows the stats from previous years. This is the 5th year that it's happened. And this is the notice that we as the organizers chose to continue, but encourage people to follow safety protocols. I'm going to pause it right there and then close whatever this is. So that was 2019, 963,000 observations. This one doesn't show how many observers, but that was cool.
Welcome to the 2020 City Nature Challenge. our focus as we celebrate Earth Day's 50th anniversary with the world community. Now more than ever, we need to study nature in cities around the globe. We can't fully protect nature on this planet without studying what is living in cities. Using cameras and smartphones, tens of thousands of people will observe wildlife in their own cities from April 24th through April 27th, contributing to an international database of urban wildlife that will be used by scientists and naturalists to help understand nature in our cities and work to make them a better place for humans and wildlife. Now, it's your chance to get involved. Just imagine how many observations we can all make together. Go to citynaturechallenge.org, then take pictures of wildlife and upload them to our global database using iNaturalist or your city's preferred platform. Watch as experts all over the world help identify your observations. Join the 2020 City Nature Challenge or follow along and see how we can work together to change the world.
So pretty cool. How was the sound on that for you, Corey?
It was pretty good. It worked.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, I wasn't sure. Generally, you don't want to play a lot of fast-moving stuff, but I thought that video with all the stills would be a good one to show. And it just kind of, that inspires me because it shows me all of those observations that come in, and those are all from last year, I believe. But this really is a global effort, and it's really cool to see what kinds of things people are into. So I wanted to ask Corey, I'm going to turn it over to you because I want you to talk a little bit about, you did the total stay-at-home version, I think, with your family a little bit. How did things go for you this year?
Things went really well. It's always a great opportunity to get the family out. And I've got a 2 and a 4-year-old, and my wife was a great participant. We all got out together, and it's amazing what a 2 and a 4-year-old will see that you would just walk right over. Maybe because they're closer to the ground. They see a lot of things that, or maybe they're just more observant. But a lot of the smaller observations that I made were actually things that my kids found while we were hiking on trails or in the backyard. So I think it's a really great way to get your family involved in being outside and getting to know more about the natural world.
Very cool. Well, one of the things I wanted to point out on the citynaturechallenge.org website is how we did compared to everybody else. So one of the things that Corey and I were talking about before we went live was that Corey's major contribution this year was actually in identifications, and he was our number one identifier. And I can show you how you see that on our project here in a second. But all told, we had 3,418 observations, 961 unique species, and 250 total participants or observers. It's actually, I should say observers, because there were even more participants if you consider the identifiers. So I thought that was pretty cool. But then, that kind of begs the question of what other cities did. And we dialed down the competition side of things this year in light of the situation that we're in. But, we're naturally competitive. So let's just check. Nashville, looks like we beat Nashville in everything and just barely beat them on the number of observers. So they had 245 total. Let's see, Knoxville. They called themselves just Knox County. They did the whole county, but Knoxville basically did about 1,500 and then 91 observers. So we got Knoxville, and then of course Atlanta is huge compared to us, but we weren't too far off of Atlanta, which is pretty good. They did have a ton of people, but it doesn't look like quite as many observations per person as we had. And then it's just kind of fun to bounce around this list here because you'll see, Biomarathon Naturalista, Riberalta. I don't know where Riberalta is. It's obviously a Spanish-speaking country. Here's Madrid. Like I said, Europe was pretty hard hit by this. Here's Boston, though. 15,000 observations in Boston. Cape Town actually won last year, I think maybe in every category. I don't remember off the top of my head, but had 34,000 observations, which is pretty cool. So when you get a chance, check this out, citynaturechallenge.org. I'm going to stop real quick and go back to just our project, so I can show you how to kind of break down these results on our project, which is a fun thing to do.
And I think it's important for people to remember that this is the first year our city's been doing it. So I think that the results that we got for a first-time event during this pandemic, I think it's pretty remarkable what we were able to do as a city.
Absolutely, yeah. I was really happy to see the 250 observers. It means that a lot of people got engaged in this. I'm going to roll down to the bottom of this project. You can jump to this project really quickly if you go to reflectionwriting.org/CNC. And then if you roll down to the bottom, just to review what counted in the Chattanooga version of the CNC. So we chose the 16 county greater Chattanooga area. So it's Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia, throughout the kind of Tennessee River Valley here. And you can see no real surprise here, but the vast majority of the observations are coming in from Chattanooga, which is the major population center. But there were some, far out into, I'm guessing that's Jackson County. I don't know my Alabama counties all that well. And then all the way up through Pikeville, Spring City, Ducktown. This is one of those areas, without being able to travel, this should be a hotspot for biodiversity where you're getting into the Cherokee National Forest. And this is where I will be headed next year, assuming that things, are back to normal and we can travel. I am really fascinated by this whole, the river down here. My grandparents lived in Huntsville, and so we would drive through South Pittsburgh on that interesting bridge and down 72, and then down into this area where you get all kinds of cool shore birds and migratory birds. And so I can't wait to go check that out, hopefully next year as well. I do think I set a pretty good baseline for observations on the reflection writing property, because I don't know exactly how many of these species are tied to reflection writing, but I'd say probably 200 or so. And then Betsy lives in the River Gorge, and Betsy Bowden beat me on species at 295. Corey, you said she's actually an educator at the aquarium?
Yeah, the aquarium.
Cool. We can't wait to have all the aquarium folks involved again next year. Mary Beth Sutton, who runs the local water quality nonprofit, it's called Tennessee.
Waterways.
Waterways, that's right. They changed their name. So Waterways, she got 250 species. Nice job. Corey, 120. It's pretty good for a backyard bio blitz.
Did the best I could with what I had.
Nora Bernhardt, great friend of reflection writing, got almost 100. And then Bill Haley, another of our friends into the critters, especially the insects. He got 55 species. And overall we had a good time. The most observed species ended up being the tulip tree, which is totally makes sense. That's the state tree of Tennessee. I'm looking at one out my window right now. They're everywhere. This lyre leaf sage. Now, one thing I'll say too, I've got it set up where it's showing me the Latin names, because especially as you start learning about plants, common names are not that meaningful. So I generally want to see the Latin name, but if you hover over it, you can see the common name too. But lyre leaf sage is blooming like crazy right now. It's all over the place. So that doesn't surprise me that was also one of the most observed. And then this is Virginia creeper, which is, again, pretty much pervasive around here. Christmas fern, same deal, mock strawberry. And then bluebirds, we had a bunch of bluebirds. That's actually what I used for the cover on this live stream, because they're so fun to see right now. All right, well, one thing that we can do too, if we go, I think it shows up on this page. Let me check. No, you have to go to observations. Or is it stats? No, it's stats. Let me go back. Go back to the overview. go to stats here. That's what I was looking for. Okay, you can see not only kind of the observations broken down by how many got to research grade. You can see on this that we're going to have to do a lot of work next year to continue to get more observers. Identifiers to come in, because we were at 53% that still need ID, and we're obviously the clock has run out. We definitely want these to continue to be ID'd. I'm not saying that that's not valuable, because it is, but in terms of this global challenge, we're past the cutoff to have any more observations count as research grade. And that is one of the categories once we go back to the competition, is we're shooting for research grade. And so having the most research grade observations would be a really cool thing to have. And then you can see exactly how all the different species break down. Plants, no surprise, are the vast majority of species, and then insects. And then from there, I think it goes fungi, and then birds, and then reptiles, amphibians, you just have a couple dozen. But one of the things that I really like about these projects is it also rolls up the most comments and faves, so you can see what people are liking out there. So if you guys have a chance, go check out our project and click around and see what people are seeing. Comment on them, add them to your favorites. One thing that's cool is that you can follow an observation. So if there's a disagreement amongst identifiers, it can be really interesting. This is one that I favorited because I actually took what I thought was a fairly mundane observation of a Japanese beetle. And then somebody commented on there and said, hey, you should double this, reproduce this observation and make an observation for that parasitic fungus that has infected this beetle. And I said, what? What parasitic fungus? I think it's a fungus. Let me check. This thing, Hesperomyces virescens, which doesn't even show up on Wikipedia. But really cool thing that I did not know that I had observed, and a good example of how the experts that come in and see this information can really do a lot with it. Somewhere somebody is studying this this green beetle hanger. Let's see what else. Oh, I mentioned this in one of the other broadcasts, but Tom Benson caught a crow stealing eggs out of a nest, which I thought was pretty fun. Somebody found a beautiful corn snake. This is not a common thing to see. They do live here, but they're, I think, less and less common to see, especially in the city limits.
And they're such good camouflage, it's hard to see them even when they're there. That's
true. A lot of these are mine because I don't think a lot of people did use the favorites thing, but I'll show you how to do that so that when you are observing things in the future, you can actually just go to this little dot, the little star here, and click fave there. This is a favorite because this one was just in my neighborhood downtown, and I found a solitary sandpiper downtown, like on the route that we walk our dogs every day. And this is not, it's not a rare bird in the sense that they are seen across Tennessee, but they're just, they're very unusual birds to see, and especially downtown. And then, interestingly enough, I saw another one at Reflection Riding on the last day of the challenge. So they're moving through right now. They don't generally stay very long, but cool to see them. So if you guys see anything cool, favorite it, let us know about it. We will be, we're going to publish a blog article, just kind of with a recap of everything that we saw and what we thought was cool. But other than that, I think that's about it. That's the big reveal. We did really, really well, I think, for the situation, Corey.
I would like to say thank you to some of our partners.
Yeah, please.
Outdoor Chattanooga did a great job of helping us promote this event. So I definitely want to mention them. The Tennessee Aquarium was helping get the word out, as well as the Chattanooga Zoo. We definitely had a lot of partners that have reach in different areas than we do that were able to help us get the word out. And you can't do an event like this without having partners that can help take on parts of it. And so definitely want to thank those people. Were there any other partners that I missed?
I would call out some of our friends that helped us out along the way. Julia Gregory helped us with showing people how to do black lighting for moths and other insects. So that's on our YouTube channel. If you want to go subscribe, you can check that out. Paul Eric Bachland, who actually defended his thesis on our property, which I got to experience. So it was kind of fun. He came to join us to talk about herpetology, which is things that slither and crawl. And then Dr. David Aborn did a really cool bird banding demonstration for us that we were able to show live. So check, all of those are on our YouTube, and they're really cool. And then we also, kind of as an aside, we had Matt Whitaker, who was a landscape architect locally, who talked about design and how you can use native planting in your landscape architecture design, and how we didn't go into a lot of depth on this, but I think it's fascinating that landscape architecture as a practice is starting to understand that they are impacting global biodiversity. And so there's a growing awareness of using native plants and recreating habitat for all the little things that we like to watch.
The one other thing that I'd love to mention on this wrap up is that a big part of this event is to get people interested in using these platforms, these citizen science projects. The goal is not to have you do it one time and then forget about it. Continue making observations through iNaturalist. The data is going to the same place, whether it's done through the City Nature Challenge or just on a day-to-day basis. And any information that you provide for the scientific community is good information. So please don't stop doing it just because the challenge is over.
Absolutely. And actually, when I saw the data on usage of the platform, they shared a slide that showed there was kind of like a baseline of usage, and then there's the first City Nature Challenge, and that baseline actually stayed high. And then there was the second City Nature Challenge, and it came back down, but the baseline was even higher. And every year so far, the baseline has been raised in terms of how many people are interested, and then how much data is being produced. And so this really is one of those things where you can be the citizen scientist, and you can provide data that it's not hypothetical. I've said this a couple of times, but I've actually been I've had researchers reach out to me about more than one observation that I've posted, asking for more detail or a location and different things that have actually fed into management plans and research projects. So you really can impact science by doing this stuff. And I still haven't found it, but if you Google it, I do know that there are some instances of new species being discovered on this platform by non-expert, by just ordinary folks. So it's a really cool thing to do, and it is a lot of fun.
And it's a great way to get your family engaged and get them outside. So take your family, grab a phone, use it in a productive way.
Absolutely. Well, Corey, thanks so much to the 250 people who played along, and all of you all who followed along with us. I appreciate it. Head over to, I did another one of these little, let me go back to this here real quick. I'm going to show you guys my, I don't know why it does that. Go into that one. All right. Go subscribe to us on YouTube, reflectionwriting.org/YouTube. And if you look down there in this little upload section, you'll see the Stump the Herpetologist and the bird banding and the insects of the night that we did. Go check those out. They're all very interesting. Lots of cool things to learn, and we will keep doing them. One of the things that you can do to help us is let us know what else you want to see from us. Head over to our Facebook page, shoot us a comment, comment on the YouTube videos, however you want to get in touch with us, just let us know what you enjoy and what you'd like to see from us next. Corey, thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much, Mark, and thank you to everyone who participated.
Have a good day.
You too.